good evening. I hope everyone was having a good day so far. Let me just here we're gonna post that I'm live to the social media app, as is tradition. Even though this one for this stream I don't have any kind of thumbnail or anything. Yeah, we're continuing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles today. I'm putting my phone on silent so I don't get jump scared. Yep. We're going to be finishing the tutorial case for the second game, because Great Ace Attorney Chronicles is 2 games. I did decide I'm just going to keep numbering the cases upward, so because like if you look at the whole of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, this is the 6th case, even though it's technically case 1 of game 2. So for simplicity's sake, we're keeping it as is. But yeah, I'm trying to prepare myself for the voice acting that we're about to undertake with the characters involved here. I'm gonna force the ad to run. Why? I gotta prep myself to voice people. Hopefully Natsume won't be a problem, but Prosecutor Ouchie is a little bit hard on me. I don't know, his voice is really nasally, would be the best way to put it. But yeah, I know this stream was... Thanks for bearing with my semi-last minute schedule changes though, cause yeah, it just turned out I wasn't actually able to stream earlier today than now. So we're live now. That's the important part. Sorry, I'll be started here. Well, I'll start reading stuff in 40 seconds. But yeah, I saw a movie today, this afternoon, and that was very good. So had a good day so far, and then streaming this game will clearly make it better as long as I don't hurt myself. But no, we'll be perfectly fine. This is gonna be very, very fun to finish this case. Ryunosuke is not here. He's currently somewhere else. So yeah, we're being Susato as cross-dressed lawyer. But anyway, here we go. The 13th of August, 10:41 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Defendant's Antechamber 3. Lay's voice. Lay's voice. Hi, Dryak. Okay. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Lay. You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I was just scared. I was scared of my failure coming to light. That's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said Susato, that you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence, that you'd stand by me to the last. I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. I am no better, you know. Oh. Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato, I'm so sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by your side, and will stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me, too. And as such, I've failed you as a lawyer. Oh, no, no. I I think this situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father, that fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Blay. Yes. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? It's been a while since I did her voice, so Miss Brett's voice is a little gone. Um, and then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Before collapsing on the floor in front of me with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time? That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one out. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that.
Great mystery indeed.
I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It will be all right. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you've said. And everything you've said you saw is true.
Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order.
Yes. I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should have hopefully identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new, laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see.
Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin.
Chemical reagent?
I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case.
The chemical reagent has been entered into the court record. A special indicator solution for a new poison under development by my father's team. It's been created in strict secrecy and exists only in my father's laboratory.
What's the matter, Susata? You're suddenly very quiet.
It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Saseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swanned in, and without any compunction, said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guest would love to hear about your work on that substance there."
It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Soseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction.
So then, Soseki-san knew about the poison?
Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too.
This many memo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach? No. I don't remember the reporter being there.
Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there.
Oh.
A known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Soseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet, obviously, he didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph.
And then, presumably, he posted it anonymously to the police. Ah.
Yes, that must be what happened.
Counsel, we've just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once.
It's time to steel ourselves once again, then. Defense Attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Yes. Rei has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. All right, here we go. 13th of August, 11:30 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 1. I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Rei Membami. Prosecutor Ouchi, have you summoned the new witness? Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoman's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life.
excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh. Oh, you're too kind, Your Excellency. Too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the reagent delivered to the police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And, Counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. What? Are you sure about that? I would stake the reputation of the police on it. Armed with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. The murder weapon has been entered into the court record. Excuse me. In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness. The newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well. Officer, bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Okay, what are we gonna voice? How are we gonna voice him? Okay, okay, I'll give it a shot. Lighten many memo of the Shoyu News. I'm what people like you call a journo. What's a journo, Father? Do you know? It's simply a contraction of journalist. I'm there when the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of the news. Oh, it was you who took this photograph, was it? Well, what have we here? Sorry? Oh, brace yourselves, people. Many Memo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play, defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will laugh this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format for the morning edition. Right then, let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryutaro Naruhodo. Next, what made you want to become a lawyer? I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryutaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while. By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aochi. That's Taketsuchi Aochi. The so-called Dark Horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness? Yes. What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a journo if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that. Now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me. Sometimes I have to chase them down. But either way, you've gotta be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my mini memoism. Many memoism? Ah, yes. I remember your face. We met that day when you were investigating myself and Soseki-san. Yes, they're right. That was me, Many Memo again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting. But the scoop is I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. Miss Brett's word. A criminal, left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dung. This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just Imperial pawns.
Okay. Um.
Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my mini memo pad. Oh no. Not the many memo pad. I'm so glad that one's not going to trip me up. Learning Japanese is good for something. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here, right? Here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Many memo pad. Many memo pad. That is correct. A serious criminal going on some junket? The people need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them. To get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph. Oh yes, I saw it with my very own Giorno eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Many Memo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. Gotta remember to breathe. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journo spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Okay. Read screens, you say? Right. You can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. Dang, those suspenders have some resistance to them. Oh yeah, they do. Those are stretching quite far. So, there is something I would like to note here, by the way. The hut that's there on the beach was there for people to change in. I'm pretty sure that's what was said previously. So he was in fact peeping. Oh yes, that was a changing hut, wasn't it? Yep. Yep. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved. Did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh, yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of those screens? One of the screens? Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. I would get away with it. Would I get away with it? Or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. Tenacity of purpose. That's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's many memoism in a nutshell. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No. Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news. A startling photograph. All the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published? Oh, that's right. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. Huh? More pathetic excuses. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He is keeping something about this case very close to his chest. Cross-examination. We have a couple things to examine here. We have the chemical reagent. The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid.
Couldn't you have just written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it.
German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate.
Well, that's all we have here. Unless. Yep. And then we have the murder weapon. Anything to note about this? Well, there's definitely blood on the knife.
Ah, yes. This must be the victim's blood.
Oh, dear. Blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I'm having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and get it clean.
You've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you?
I think this is something else, Father. Well, nothing else to get from the knife. Time to start pressing.
Hold it!
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place?
Call it journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because, as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journo as a voyeur.
Ah, well, yes, let's see how this goes. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge.
Nope, you've got it all wrong, little student boy.
Sorry?
To my mind, all that was inside that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender. Man or woman, it's all news. That's not even minimalism, it's just basic journalism.
If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate.
Right. So, if that's all buttoned up, can we move on?
Tell the court then, witness, What sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut?
A sight that vindicated my journo instinct. That's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all clear as day.
Hold it!
So, you actually saw Membami-san entering the hut?
Yep. And she was raging. Raging like my journo spirit.
And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly?
You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing.
You're still kind of floored that no one's really concerned. He's just sneaking around trying to get photos of people changing. I mean, he claims that wasn't his goal, but it's something that I can't really ignore, but it's also an irrelevant fact to this case because we're just interviewing him as a witness. So I guess we can gloss over it. Maybe he'll get prosecuted later. That's... He keeps tasting his pencil, which is very strange. That would be so funny. Talking about the poison, I suppose. Like, he keeps tapping his pencil on his tongue. Which is like... It's blue raspberry flavor? I'm pretty sure it's wood and graphite flavor. Or lead. That's a good question. What is with the blue mark on his hand? It'll probably be relevant later. Yeah, probably lead it this time. It's okay. The lead is fine. I just feel like lead wouldn't... Lead is very much not good for you. Yeah, there's also something else I would like to note here. You see this symbol on his armband? It actually matches a piece of evidence we have. So there's a chance that this is his pen, I would say, or at least belonging to another journalist. Oh wait, never mind, it literally has his initials on it. It actually has his initials on it too. Yeah, so this is definitely his pen. His initials are RM.
The student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she'd laid it into her any more, there would have been eggs.
What? Wait, what? What? What does that mean? Huh? Huh? I think I'm better off ignoring this statement.
The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism.
Excuse me.
But the students' rantings fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time.
He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest.
Anyway, the point is, that woman in the dock was mightily angry.
And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me.
Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film.
Would she have even been strong enough to throw Miss Brett to the ground? Sorry. I mean, if you're using pencils as your writing utensil, you always need a few extras. That's just common sense, cause sharpening them is not like it's quick with means we currently have, but it's also not that fast. So, like I know whenever I went to take tests or something, I'd have a minimum of 2 pencils, if not more. When I switched to mechanical pencils, I only needed to like 2 though. He's breaking them in half like toothpicks. But yeah, I do generally prefer writing with a pencil than a pen. Just because being able to correct mistakes is nice. Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place?
Ha! The precise moment? I didn't see just that. I saw the whole horrible scene play out from start to finish.
I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. He was smooth with grabbing that new pencil though. Sick little flip he did too. Style points. Have you seen, what is it? What's the stat? Have you seen in Persona 5, Joker's, pen spinning skills once you have high enough? Is it charm? Or is it like finesse? I don't know, but like when you level up one of your social stats high enough in Persona 5, there's some scenes where Joker will start flipping a pencil around. It's very impressive. I wish I could do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd certainly be fun. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed.
Right you are. It's all here in my many memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here.
Sorry, wait 1 second. Curiosity begs that I use my phone for a second. Winton voice. Honestly, good on you for not messing that up. I'd be cooked saying that too many M's. Wait, I'm trying to... can I copy this? I'm trying to... I'm just curious. Wait. No, I got the... Sorry. No, I was trying to translate the kanji out of curiosity. This translation does not make sense. We'll ignore it. It definitely got the kanji right, but I don't understand. But yeah, no. Yeah, it's my practice at Japanese pronunciation makes reading his name easy. Okay, onwards we go. But yeah, like, I don't know, one of the examples it showed for the definition of this kanji was like employee. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if the translator app was trolling me or not. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. I'll try it again. Ooh. Well, that kanji it did translate as culprit. Wait, okay. I'll try it. I don't know, never mind. I don't know. It translated it to victim now. Interesting. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. Depending on the timing of that, that's quite an impressive feat, I feel like. but it's also probably not what happened.
What you describe is a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what many memoism says.
The beach hut plan has been entered into the court record. By the way, Many Memo-san, whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film?
Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our liaison d'etre.
French. Not French.
Liaison d'etre.
At my... Sorry, there's no way I'm gonna get French pronunciation right. That was just a pure guess. If I'm correct, that's amazing. So, you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all?
Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in.
And that's something to be proud of, is it?
Your Excellency, if I may...
Yes, Professor.
I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony.
Father, what are you... I will grant the defense's request. Many Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement.
Well, nihilism is the foundation of many Memoism. But I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was only there as an observer.
Hold it! I think this is where we make a connection with the pen. Really? You sure you didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that?
I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to the breaking point already.
Oh, I see. You were scared. Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you. Yes.
It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hands steady enough to snap the shot. You really should have summoned help before thinking of your camera. Many Memoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, Many Memoism comes out on top. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, that's spot on.
Surely he's making all of this up.
He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating.
But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it?
If that's how you feel, I suggest you trust your instincts and press him on everything he said. As you've no doubt seen done many times before in your role as judicial assistant.
Yes, I have. I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do. So, there is one other thing I would like to take a look at, and that's the angle of his photograph of the scene. I would like to point out, his photograph is looking at the door. This is probably important. And looking at the layout of the hut, the stool where the victim was sitting is across from the door, and the photo is taken from that same direction. We will keep this in mind for later. So now we go to his last statement here. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer. Here, we have something rather strange to present.
Objection!
Many memos, son. Until now, I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth.
You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoyu News on my arm. In a way, that's more many memoism.
Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth. What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel? Many memos, son. Do you recognize this fountain pen? This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died.
What are you...
If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. R.M.
Yes, Thank you for bringing that up, Council. The initials of the accused. Le Membami. Is it a coincidence, I wonder? That your initials are also RM? No. Lighten, Many Memo. RM. That's horse dung. Can't you see? One of the central tenets of many memoism is being a pencil user. And yet, the court will clearly see on your right hand. There is a very obvious blue ink stain. It would appear you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey horse dung. Many Memo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
This song is so good. Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Show You News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. The defense has neither time nor inclination to count every star in the sky. And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is. In that case, counsel, the defense will now show the court where the alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellency. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is right here. Got it. As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will, of course, recognize. Many memos on. Goodness me. It's the emblem of the Show You News. Wait. I just picked up on the pun in the name of the news. It's the Show You News. I just realized. I was thinking, well, it's because I was thinking of, like, Show You Ramen, which is, it uses, I think that's the one, I could be wrong on this, I think that's the one that uses, like, soy sauce as the base, or, like, has soy sauce in it. So it's like, Show You just registered in, like, that context and not as the two separate English words.
But yeah, surely you caught on to Many Memos pun name though, right? Right? Raiten, Many Memo, reporter who takes a crap ton of notes. Dang it. In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Many Memo-san, how do you respond? No. No. Order. Order. Explain yourself, witness. Huh. Sorry. Laughed so hard. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I've used nothing but honest tactics. Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu News reporter, on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. The music in these games is good. An interview? You never mentioned this before? When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes. That's all. It was just a brief exchange. I like his theme song here. But it came to nothing. As we Many Memoists say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright. But on one condition. That's not how this works, Mr. Reporter Witness Person. You don't get to add a condition to your testimony unless you're taking a plea deal, but I don't know that they're gonna offer one here. Condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this.
You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san.
No. so, Soseki-san.
Oh yes. According to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. And brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one. It's big.
What? What?
Many Memoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Very well. I will grant the witness's request in this instance.
Okay, sorry. Wait, is... No, sorry, I realized something, I actually realized something about, Soseki-san. Um, like, his name is actually the name of a, of a Japanese novelist that's, uh, so I just wanted to, although I think his name in this game might be backwards. I think his name in this game is backwards, but yeah, I was just looking at it because I was just like, I heard that author's name mentioned somewhere else, and then I was just like, wait, I've heard basically that name before. So I just thought about that again right now. So I was looking at it. Um, so yeah, so the actual novelist is Natsume Soseki, but I just thought it was curious because I don't know. The character is definitely a direct reference to that novelist. Like the wiki page, um, reading a little bit. Natsume Soseki. Um, he was a Japanese novelist, best known for his novels Kokoro, which was the name of the case where we defended him. Actually, it was like the case of the clouded Kokoro, and he also says, I am a cat," which I feel like was mentioned earlier in this case, actually. Um, and it also says here he was a scholar of British literature and a writer of haiku, as well as fairy tales. So I don't know. I just think that's interesting that the character is actually based on a real novelist with many similarities, except for maybe in personality. Not that know much, but yeah, I just like I heard the author's name somewhere else, and I just thought it made me curious. That's all. Soseki-san. hiding something. And he's back. Witness testimony. The witness's secrets. All right, I think I'm gonna have to go refill my water before we get into this one. Now we're voicing Many Memo and Soseki at the same time. This is oh no. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to be right back for a minute before we get into this witness testimony and cross examination. It's not too bad. I'll just have to remember to breathe. If we can do that, we'll be all set. My lung capacity does not feel very good. This makes it hard for some of the longer lines for characters like this. But yeah, I'll be back in 1 minute. Sorry. All right. It's time. I'm in no way prepared, but I hope you are. Okay. The witness's secrets. Okay.
I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about it in his testimony, which is why many memoism demands I reveal it now. You mean to say the victim regained consciousness? Well, And when she did, you decided to ask her a question. That's, true. Yes. He did. He did. And that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. What? This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a conversation.
Yeah, these people leave a lot of important details out of their statements.
Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious, even.
Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. He has a great face, though, Soseki-san.
This court must and will know the truth.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Clay somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut? Wait, did she write something? Did she write something with the pen? The witness's secrets. The game has begun.
Hold it!
But you were in there for 2 to 3 minutes, you said. You asked her for an interview, you say?
Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year.
About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life.
That's not the way I phrased it. Many memoism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson? Is how I put it to her.
Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler.
Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that.
And how did Miss Brett answer?
With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Whew, that told me, so I waltzed right out of there.
Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together.
Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that.
Hold it!
That was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away.
Persistence wins the prize. Many memoirist will tell you that. Let them think you've left, then just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop.
And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this decisive evidence. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness. And now that you've found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide. I'm sure. Please, do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say.
Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here, and I'm going to tell it.
Hold it!
And Soseki-san remained behind in the hut? That's right. Yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging.
What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst traveling abroad. Back behind baleful bars, they'll be coming for me, surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I were gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat.
You see the problem, right? Ah. Now this is closer to the Soseki-san from the previous case. Poor Soseki-san. His experiences in London have scarred him deeply.
And as the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom. Please.
And now, we come to the crucial part. That's when it's happened.
Hold it!
What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Riderman? Ah! Excuse me. Out with it, you yokel hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman?
Well, in truth, I'd been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see.
Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man.
But then, all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air.
Ray.
I ran up the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosonaga saw this, Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin.
One moment. Okay. But what did you ask her, Soseki-san?
I asked her, "Who did this to you?"
Don't protract this any longer.
How did the woman respond? She didn't. She said nothing in response. But when in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. I will. I asked her who did this to you, but she never replied.
Hold it!
So, you tried to find out who the culprit was. He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever.
That's a good saying.
And having been labeled as a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever.
Okay. Sorry, his voice takes a lot out of me. However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct?
I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stoop and mustache, because I'm Japanese. Oh, dear. Soseki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems. Yeah, that last statement from him is probably not true. Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Writerman? Well, yes, alright. She did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. I suppose. She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant. Soseki-san, is that really true? It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, The Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked, "Who did this to you?" the Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut, which was, it cannot be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today.
No. Soseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony?
But fiddlesticks, I say.
This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese.
Yes, of course. The Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. To somewhere at the back of the hut, where nobody was standing at all.
You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear?
Yes, that's it. Unclear. I'm very, very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused pointing in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime. I am inclined to agree, and in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial. No. No! The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyers' hopes dashed. 92 point across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition.
This is a serious blow Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over.
But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet.
Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learnt thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need.
Ray gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet before collapsing on the floor in front of me with a knife in her back. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty, but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question. I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add. So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised. In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. So, I will tell you, I know last time I mentioned it, but I actually did see, I actually know how the victim was stabbed, even though I shouldn't, because I've actually seen a tiny bit of gameplay of this game before. So unfortunately, I know that the victim was stabbed through the wall. Which, I mean, is going to very quickly become evident here. But, I'm sorry. This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim? I know how. Most unfortunately, but... Your Excellency, I respectfully ask that you postpone your adjudication for the time being. Well, no, it was because I saw my friend, I saw a little bit of my friend playing this game at some point, a long time ago, and there was a couple details that stuck with me. There was something in the first case of this game, which was that I remembered basically how the victim died in that case, and I remembered this very specific detail of this case. As for anything else, I should know absolutely nothing, I think. But my memory will just remember when I get there, if I do know something. Your Excellency, I respectfully ask for you to postpone your adjudication for the time being. Oh,
To what end, counsel? The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory? Ha! None exist.
Objection!
There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed the crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction. Fantasy.
Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryutaro Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. You will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed?
Right here.
Take that!
Behind the victim, obviously.
Naruhodo-san would never give up. And I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here. Are you mad, counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut?
What?
Order. 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 But, student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all.
I'm sorry. Wait. I need 1 second. Okay, I think I'm good. We'll hope I'm good.
You've just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap.
But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about, and I can swear to that. Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there is no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut.
Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that is precisely the way. Miss Brett was killed.
You're bluffing! You're bluffing, you yokel!
The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut? This photograph, even.
Take that!
Well, I've presented it now. But I haven't the first idea why I chose this piece of evidence. Counsel, you're suggesting that this piece of evidence bears out your theory as to how the victim was stabbed. It's something of a windfall, Your Excellency.
I think the word you were looking for, counsel, was downfall.
If your theory is correct, and the knife was thrust into Miss Brett's back from the outside of the hut, there should be a visible trace somewhere. A trace? Yes, on the hut itself. Sorry, I jumped a step ahead. Armed with that idea, I must look through the court record again. Your Excellency, the defense would like to present a different piece of evidence.
Sorry, I jumped a step ahead. But I can explain exactly why I picked that photograph. Go ahead. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory? So I picked the incriminating photograph because it's showing that his camera was poking through the wall of the hut, which also places him at the angle from which the victim was stabbed. Many memo, that is. But we probably have to go with this photograph, where there's this very conspicuous, slightly widened slit behind where the victim was sitting. So that was my bad. I knew it was photographic evidence here, though.
Take that!
So, I mean, I'll,
The original photographic print of the crime scene? Yes. It's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
Objection!
do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing.
I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to. Counsel, once again I must call on you to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing, which you claim took place from outside the hut?
Take that!
Look closely. Just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't. I can't see any such thing.
It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls, as you'd expect. However, by parting the reeds,
a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary. Yes. Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. Uh. And of everyone present at the scene, there is only one person who could have done it. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Lighten Many Memo-san. It could only have been you. No!
Objection!
This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this farcical scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not. Where not? If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death, inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. A stool? Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen. Would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool. My word. So, in fact, the victim was killed whilst sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back, delivered through the reed screen. Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Membami-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. By your silence, Manimamo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge. This is absurd.
That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Membami-san, is innocent of the crime. Oh, thank goodness. I don't think it's quite going to end yet. I finally made him cave. I must say, I've never been more proud.
No, this can't be. The Aoji clan can't. What of my growth of hope? It wasn't all an aberration. I can't accept this. I won't.
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude the proceedings by...
Hold it.
Wait, who?
Ha! Ha ha ha. Well, this is all very convenient.
This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them criminals. But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut, through the reed screen walls. And no one but you was in place at the time to have his hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction. So, your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant to me now. Mustache man guilty? You don't know why, but he is? No, not Soseki-san. I guarantee Soseki-san's not guilty. There's no way. He was not in the building or near it when the incident occurred. Irrelevant. Where she was stabbed? How she was stabbed? That's just what he wants you to believe? Guilty? It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown. The whole thing hinges on something else. He's gonna bring up the poison now, and just say the stab wound is irrelevant because the poison would have killed her anyway. What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course.
The poison.
Let's ask the professor to comment on this situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right? That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see, I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood.
Ah, how refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely. It matters not a jot who stabbed whom in the back, and with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as the poison wasn't on the blade.
Forgotten already, have we, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving...
This guy's hair is magnificent. Yeah, he's got quite the hairstyle, I will say.
That the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever.
So, let me get this down, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial. Turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right?
Well,
Order, order, order. But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There is an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. You mean she drank it? Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water and a glass had been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. The poison could have slipped into either. So, somebody made Miss Brett drink it. If the carbonated water was poisoned, that would be ironic.
well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes.
This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
I actually remember where the poison is too. Dang it! Why do I remember the spoilers? Established. What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me? What on earth does he mean? Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim it's to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering poison to the victim. You'll explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journo, and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm not about to start now. That's because many memoism. For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us? Witness testimony. Complete innocence. All of these cases are such a wild ride. Honestly, they are. But yeah, I do remember where the poison is, and it's very silly. I hope you're ready. I'm sad I remember this, because it'd be fun to figure it out, but now I just don't have the opportunity because I already know the answer. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done. So, you admit it then? That everything that happened as I described? That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen? So he still admits to fatally stabbing the woman that was cited as her primary cause of death. Great. You can blame this miserable country of ours.
A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have?
I mean, I do understand the validity of the argument that if she was already lethally poisoned before she was stabbed, then she would have died anyway, unless Membami-san was able to administer an antidote. So, like... Okay, so this is, like, actually a guess, but... I know too many things. I don't want to say anything because I can fully spoil the rest of this case right now. Yeah. But the other thing I'll point out is that the defendant in this case, um, was the one responsible for developing the poison. So it could be bargained to reason that she could be carrying an antidote for the poison or knows how to mitigate the poison's symptoms until such a time where an antidote could be administered, assuming one exists. And therefore, he could have stabbed her out of panic that the poison wouldn't actually successfully kill the woman. But again, in saying that, I have in fact revealed that he did poison her. And I know he poisoned her. What kind of future does a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. That's so weird. Sorry, the mod action there had a button for unbanning you, Sheldon. But it's like you're not banned in the first place. But yeah, so we are talking about a murder investigation where a woman died. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. I don't know. Personally, I don't think that the argument that she was a dead woman walking would make you innocent of the crime of killing her. Oh yeah, he's definitely getting charged for perjury. But I guess the false testimony didn't stand, so they just let that kind of thing slide a lot, and you just assume they all get charged for perjury, hopefully. That's right. You guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. Yeah, like, oh, she was gonna die anyway, I just sped up the process. Sir, that is true for everyone. Well, like, the thing is, the poison had no actual visible symptoms besides the pupil thing as far as we could tell. So from outside of the hut and behind her, he would definitely have no way to tell that she was poisoned, except for the fact that he knew she was poisoned. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journo here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. Hello, dear fellow. Hello, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Unfortunately, Herlock Sholmes is not with us in this case, but I'm sure he'll be with us in the next one. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. And, therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. Okay, I think I'm gonna use the ad break here to go refill my water again. I'm sorry. These voices, I gotta stay like 1000% hydrated to keep this up. So, I will be back in a moment. Hydration. Okay, 1 minute, sorry.